to be about them. So I've sent them some questions, but let's just make this as conversational as we can. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and tell everybody a little bit about where you were, and we'll just kind of go that way, and then we'll lead on to the next question. We'll see how this goes. Who wants to start?
Jennifer, you want to start?
Start. Jennifer Mantle. I live in San Francisco, and where I was very grudgingly doing yoga in hopes of losing weight. And did you say where I am now? Also,
Not yet. Let's save that. Let's hear about where you were before. And yeah, because I remember.
accurate.
I know you.
That was
Say
what I
more
was.
if you want. Yeah, say more. No more. Okay. Okay. And you guys want me to jump in what I remember, I can do that too.
Sure.
So what I remember from Jen is she wanted to move, but was like, had no, and this is gonna be a good setup for later when you tell people where you are. You didn't want to move. You were just like, I know I should, but I can't, but I don't want to, but I should, and I can't do enough. And if I do this, then it's not enough. And it was kind of like that. Would you agree? Yeah.
I've never been a person who finds exercise pleasurable. I don't like, I know people get like a boost of oxytocin or whatever. And I think I've had that once, and it was only during this class. And I just was only exercising because I knew I had to, right? Like, so it was all about self-discipline. And self-discipline is not one of my biggest strengths, along with patience. So virtues that I don't so much possess.
Also, that's very similar to what people I have here saying of like, I should do it, and what I'm doing. It's all these shoulds, or this idea of like what discipline is, what it looks like, and it just becomes another thing that we're just not doing good at. Gina.
Yes, I am Gina Wilkinson. I'm from Kansas City, and I work in BRS. I was fortunate to find Jen. I took a 15-minute yoga class, a workshop of hers, and went on to take her fundamentals class and then the 90 days to beat the stress of interpreting class. I was and continue to battle with upper body issues, but I have a lot of resources now that I did not have previously as far as how to manage those issues. Yeah, so I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Great. So, what was your experience in the 90-day program, which is, yeah, what was your experience in it? And then as you guys talk, if I want to pull some more questions out of you, I'll ask. But what was your experience?
For me, I know that I need some kind of structure and almost like accountability. Like, I have access to lots of videos in the world, but what I don't have is like 8 o'clock on Saturday, or 9 o'clock, whatever it was, we meet at this time. And that is something really important for me. And that was a major attraction for me. And something that I knew about doing yoga with Jen, that is, I have never felt to be true in any other class I've done, is that Jen knows bodily what it is to have the pain of interpreting for, a couple decades, whatever it is. And when I've taken classes in the past, I haven't felt seen or taken seriously by teachers when I say, yeah, I can't do downward dog. And they're like, oh, we'll just do cat cow. I'm like, like, that's not going to make it any better. Like, that's not the issue. And I'm also missing part of the class, right? And so people, in my experience, want to modify existing poses. And I don't think, for me anyway, that's not what I need in a yoga teacher. And what Jen does instead, in my experience, is modifies the class to make it that I can do everything in the class. I never feel incapable or other negative words. I always feel included and able. And I actually did chaturanga in this class because Jen knows how to build us up to that in a way that allows us not to. I never thought I would ever be able to do chaturanga. That seemed impossible. Am I doing the right? That's this one, right? That's the right word.
Yes, and I was just going to say, for those who don't know what that word is, it's like a push-up, but your arms are close to your sides and you're holding your body off the floor about 3 inches, and it's a pose very commonly done in sort of the popular gym yogas.
That was a major accomplishment for me. Sorry, Gina, please
So
go.
sorry. I just wanted to agree with you. It's been really nice having this structure, especially like you mentioned, knowing that we would meet on Saturdays, having that routine, and knowing that we would have access to Jen that one day a week, in addition to all of the videos. I have done yoga, not like on a super regular basis, but I remember doing yoga like 20 years ago. So I have familiarity with it. No one ever taught me to use props. I had no idea. Like, I remember going to some studio one time and they're like, if you want to, there's some, I don't know what do you call them?
Blocks.
There are blocks over there, or there are blankets over there. And I'm like,
Right.
I don't even know why would I go get them? What are they for? I don't know. And Jen, she incorporates the use of props into every single class. So it's not like you need to use props because you're very beginner or anything like that. She shows this wide array of options for how to do that same posture, or let's do it using the wall today, or let's do that position using a chair today, and things like that. And she might say, you're struggling with some wrist issues. Let's not do that posture on the floor today. Let's do it up elevated on a chair, which she, one of the last live classes, I was having some TMJ issues, and she pretty much like taught the class, I felt like, for me, because there were only 2 of us there. So she pretty much taught the class just geared specifically for the 2 of us. So that was fabulous. I feel like because I have taken her class, I have access to all of these resources, all of these videos, but I also have the knowledge to go, okay, I'm on hold right now. I'm going to do this position and really stretch out my pecs. And I apologize if I'm like showing, but I have some different options, and I know different positions to do to help alleviate some of the being at a computer for hours at a day kind of thing.
Can I add, speaking of customizing, I got COVID in the middle of our class and I had a really hard time. I did not have a mild case or a mild experience. And at one point I was having low pulse oxygen. It's a long thing. The point is, I realized, oh, Jen has become, and I don't know, maybe you don't want everybody to depend on you in the way that you let me, I don't know, but Jen became like more significant part of like my care team than any medical provider. I felt totally let down by the medical providers, misdiagnosed, all kinds of things. And Jen was like, oh, do this pose. And I'm like, oh, this is the first time I can sit up without getting dizzy, like really fundamental. Ooh, I have chills. It's so fundamental to my recovery. And that in itself is worth every penny times 4 or 5 or whatever.
And I just want to say that you kept coming. So you had faith in the practice, and that says something, because it's really easy not to show up for yourself or to a class, and particularly if you're not feeling well. So kudos to you. You went from like that kind of apathy in a way of not wanting to do anything to like fully showing up for yourself.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
go ahead,
agree. I
Gina.
feel like that was, you know, a neat thing that in every class you would customize it to the people that were there and our ability levels, you know, whatever pains that we might have been dealing with, whether they be mental or physical, really, at the time. And so it was neat to have that array and all of that through a video. I mean, kind of a lot more instruction than in class, because in class I feel like it's just sort of like, here I'm going to teach to everyone, but I'm not going to individualize it to those people that are there. And also your way of explaining things. One day, I think it was at the end of the 3 months, so it wasn't actually a class, it was more of a conversation. You gave this description explaining, and since I am from the Midwest, this really kind of helped me understand things so well. You were basically explaining that to help with or improve your posture, I guess I should say, that you don't hang a heavy coat on a wire hanger because it would just fall down. And you were explaining that it's the same concept with your trap muscles, that you need to put them back and really hang them on like a strong coat hanger. And it's just like little things like that. I think in one of the classes you were saying to clip them like you would on a drafting board, that you're, you know, putting them in their place sort of thing. And just that small modification of my posture that day. I wasn't even taking a class, I didn't even do a video, but just doing that, it was like this pain or, you know, discomfort in my neck and shoulders sort of eased just by getting an appropriate posture.
All right, I love metaphors, so that's what I share. Plus, I think we as a group are maybe quite visual folks, learners. How else has it, since this program is for interpreters, how else has it helped you as an interpreter in your work, in your work?
I feel like you made one of the tenets of the class, like it doesn't have to be an hour or an hour and a half or even 30 minutes. Are you on hold? You know, I don't do VRS, but you frequently give that example. Are you on hold? Do a stretch. And I totally would do like, oh, I'm doing this kind of job. I have 10 minutes where, you know, whatever, I'm not needed. And I'd be like, oh yeah, well, I'll just go right over there to I'll just do 10 minutes, you know, and finding myself, I'm going to just jump a little bit to, this is where I am now. Where I am now is, now my brain no longer is like, oh, I have to do yoga today. Now my brain's like, well, where am I going to fit my yoga in today? And it,
Yay!
that may sound insignificant, but you know, I've been taking yoga classes for 20 something years and that never ever had that shift before. And that shift for me is critical to moving it from, like you said, like a to-do list item to a, this is something I do. This is, and it's more than a tool in my tool belt, which it is, right? Like I do know how to alleviate certain things now through poses or flows or whatever. You don't usually, haven't heard you use the word flow, but whatever it's called, routine, I don't know. That is something too, but it's more than that. It's more like, this is something that I do because my life is better. When I don't do it, I miss it. My body misses it, my sleep, my emotional regulation.
Yeah, I feel like I just start feeling these pains and, you know, it's like, okay, I need to get back more into the routine. And it's like, it just becomes something that you know that you feel better because you're doing it. And so you make time every day, even if it's just, you know, while you're on hold or on a break. You know, this morning I was trying to do a 30-minute video and I was like, that's short enough. I should be able to make it through 30 minutes. And I got through maybe like 15 or 20, which I was kind of disappointed by, but I felt so much better after 10 minutes that it was like, I shouldn't be disappointed. That was a win because I did get through. I felt better, you know, and stronger and so much more stretched out and everything in a short amount of time. So I accomplished what I needed to accomplish.
Yeah, this whole last 4 days, a lot of what we've been talking about is kind of those mental pieces, whether it's setting a goal that you feel like you're going to fail at, like you're just describing, and then accepting what you can do and feeling the benefits. Also, Jen, you mentioned finding the time. That's a big one for this group. Gina, what other, I know when you started and you just jumped in, like you mentioned before, you did the workshop, you did the whole foundations, and you did the 90-day program. Because you came with a lot of tightness in the shoulder and neck, which a lot of us experience. And you already spoke a little bit about how that, you know how to manage that better. Any other benefits that you've seen from your practice or felt or experienced?
I would say being able to manage stress better. Also, I know this is kind of maybe a little not off the topic, but not specifically yoga poses, but one of the videos you talk about like routine. And I have done a lot better job of drinking water before having coffee in the morning, which is helping me hydrate. It helps my, you know, stomach. So just things like that that aren't necessarily even specifically doing yoga. I think it has helped me to stay on a better routine to help myself feel better, essentially.
Yeah, so what Gina's referring to, that the program is, yes, yoga as we see yoga as this hatha asana practice, which is marvelous, but also other healthy habits and daily habits and other types of practices that help our life, that sort of round out, you know, the physical, the what to do each day. Do you guys want to add to anything that more? Because we spoke a lot about the asana classes, which I want to swing back to in a moment, but do you want to add anything about the other components that may not be just asana or posture? And maybe you didn't get to it yet. Maybe it's still there.
I think it was great having information about ergonomics and, you know, kind of taking a step back and making sure, do you have your station set up appropriately for you? And what is appropriate? And you include video visuals in the program to make sure that all of that is happening. I think that's one component.
I just want to say to those who are with us on Facebook, please write in questions for Jen or Gina, anything. I'm asking them questions, but I'm even more interested, like, what you want to know as well. And maybe responding to, a couple of you responded to some of the stuff, some of the things that they've said. Chris mentioned she loved the analogy. I think she's talking about the hanger or the drafting table. So yeah, please write those in. What would you say to an interpreter who's thinking about taking the program, either the benefit of it or the actual, like, you know, the doing of it, the successes, the struggles, the challenges? You guys talked a lot about the benefits as well.
I think maybe my biggest challenge was probably also ended up being my biggest win, if I maybe, which is, you know, as I said in the first question, I really was like, I want to, you kind of pushed me to set a goal, and I was like, well, I guess if I have to set a goal, it's to lose weight, and it would be nice if I got stronger, which like now feels laughable, right? But that was my reality then, right? That was what was true for me at the time. So fine. I'm sure I haven't lost any weight, right? Like that became not the important thing at all. And what became important was changing my relationship with yoga. I feel like I'm wandering from your question, but
Okay. That's okay.
I know what I was going to say. I would say whatever you think, whatever it is that you're thinking, I'm not sure, look at that and maybe talk to Jen about it, because probably whatever it is you think you can't do is just exactly the medicine that is going to be the most powerful. If that makes sense.
I think it was fabulous having a group of people that would come together, and all of us being interpreters, all of us having that experience, and also having that routine of getting together every week to do yoga. And Jen shares a plethora of information. I mean, it is a lot that she shares to make sure that we're all making changes throughout the 90 days. Um, and yeah, I do feel like a lot of what I was dealing with was sort of unmanageable. And now I feel like I um, have better strategies to deal with it. Um,
There's a question coming from the group. One is, what were the challenges you faced? Okay, let me go to the second one, Brenda, because I think you were talking about the 4-day challenge, which maybe all of you in the Facebook group could help answer Brenda. And Brenda, if that's not what your question was, just write it again so I'm clear. But Lydia asked, how do you motivate yourself to do the program on the computer when so much of our lives, work and personal, are already connected to a screen? It's a good question.
That is a good question, but I think when it makes you feel better and you're coming together with other people, they're helping you to be accountable, and just finding the space to make room for it. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and certainly there are times that I'm like, no, I want to go for a walk instead, but I also know that yoga is making me feel better, so I need to find time for both. And so maybe it's an issue of like, today I'm going to walk and tomorrow I'm going to do yoga, or I'll walk in the morning and I'll do yoga in the evening or something like that. It's just finding time to do both of the things that help you feel better.
It feels really different to me. Like sitting here at my interpreting station, as you can see, yes, I'm wearing a black shirt, but it's not a work shirt. And likewise for yoga, like I never wear work clothes. My computer's on the floor. People can actually see my home, not my, curtain hiding my home. It just feels totally different from work to me. And I'm not good at getting out of the house to go exercise, like to go to a building where everybody else is I don't do that. I don't do that. So this is way better for me than pretending I'm going to walk to the yoga studio that's 2 blocks from my house. I've lived here for 20 years. I've never taken a yoga class there.
I would agree because I'm also a student. I still study a lot with my teacher, who thankfully took COVID. And Zoom I can be with because she's in India. But for me, and I'm glad Jen you mentioned, it's a very different relationship. And I think also, correct me if I'm wrong, that the first time you watch a video, it might take a little bit more of observing and watching, and then as you repeat it, it becomes more of a support for your practice rather than something you have to attend to as much so, or in the same way that you have to attend to, say, when you're interpreting. And I think in that way it's different. And that's just my experience as having Zoom fatigue and then also continuing to study online as well. That's my experience. Looks like you guys agree with that.
You as a teacher are probably paying attention to us similarly to how we all pay attention to the screen when we're interpreting. Yeah. But when I'm the student, I sometimes will stop to look at the screen because I'm highly visual and I need to see where your body is to be like, what part of my body is doing what? But other than that, like, I'm just doing my thing and you're like, Jen, do this. And I'm like, oh yes, I'll do that. Like, I am not glued to the computer anything like I am when I'm interpreting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice because you can move it around to whatever works. Like, you put it on the floor because you're doing a position, posture on the floor, or wherever it works for you. And like you said, you might just kind of be hearing it and going by what Jen is describing instead of really staring at the screen.
As long as I can see you. That's the most important
Yes, and I have
thing.
had challenges with that. Yes.
So, okay, good. I think Brenda's re-asked, and that's what I thought she meant. So she's considering doing the 90-day program, but she wants to know what challenges you guys had. So let me, as you're thinking of your answer, I'm gonna scroll up so I can make sure I got that question correct because it came down. Yeah, what challenges or struggles did you face? What was hard for you?
I feel like I'm still struggling to get my setup all like I have an external camera, it's over there, my computer's here, and I still am like, oh my God, I am not in frame, or
Mm-hmm.
just that part is a challenge for me. And probably that's because I'm generally a low tech person. I don't know. I don't want to move the TV to the floor so I can see it, and I don't have the space to have just, have everything all set up 24 hours a day. Like, so that is a challenge for me still.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. I do have a space, but it's in my basement, so it's not really ideal. And then you know, other things get put on my yoga mat, whether it be other exercise equipment, because other people will go down there. My 12-year-old has his boxing bag down there, and then the gloves in, it's not always like just my area, but it's a work in progress, and I'm hoping to make some modifications so that I can find some more space so that it will be more my yoga space. I struggled a lot with finding a way with my iPad so that I could be visible on the screen. I think I used a laptop like for one of the last classes, and that was a lot better than using an iPad as far as being so that I could be visible on the screen and Jen could see me and correct me. So that was definitely something that I struggled with. There were a group of us, but I don't know that we always found time to meet maybe in addition to the class or anything like that. That was something that I think we could still do. I'm not sure what else that I struggled with. I think it is a lot of information, and maybe at the beginning feeling like, oh, I have to do all of this, but you do what you're able to do, and you have support, and you have other people that you're able to interact with and get feedback from. So I think at first it's really just getting a routine set up and remembering that every week you need to pencil in time to make sure that it happens.
There's a question from Chris asking, did you feel connected with others in the group, even though it was remote? And Gina, you kind of mentioned that the sort of buddy system, which is, I'm gonna work on that to increase that, but like that could be there more. But did you also feel connected, to the rest of the group?
Yes, I think I still felt connected to the rest of the group. And, we were interacting through the Facebook page, and we would interact on the weekends when we had class.
And the both of them have mentioned weekend class, and I just want to throw it out in case that's a question out there. I'm just jumping. We all took a poll, so we all agreed when we were going to meet. So that's when they met. Do you guys want to add anything else? Anything I missed that you definitely want to share with people? To anybody who might be considering, any more benefits that have come from being involved in a practice, or any shifts in, I'm all about shifting how we look at ourselves as interpreters and taking care of ourselves, if that shifted for you. I'm just throwing out some little ideas that maybe some other people are thinking about. Please keep sending your questions. Any other ways the program changed you that you haven't mentioned?
I would never have said that I was a yogi before. I wouldn't, even though I've done yoga off and on for 20 years, I would never say that. And like now I'm like, oh yeah, no, actually I would say that now. Like.
And why is that? What's the difference?
There's a connection for me that was not there before. I think I heard years ago that yoga was meant to be taught almost one-on-one, or like the way that it's often taught in the West with the teacher at the front of the room and 30 people or whatever is not really how it was intended. And maybe that's just what's true. Like that for me, having that one-on-one, having a relationship with you, Jen, and then having me and know my body, and like, I mean, to the extent that one can over Zoom, etc. But and know what's going on for me from week to week, and asking me at the beginning of class, and what all those things that are really the little things that actually are the big things. I think it's all of that. And then also I'll just say part of it is it's the right time in my life. Like I am home all the time, the way my life is. I'm not really able to get out and around very much, and I'm okay with it. So it's not upsetting. And it was really the right time. I have more space now than I've had before. And yeah, lots of things changed for me all at once, I guess, but definitely it's about the connection. And oh, it is, took me a minute. It's trusting. I trust Jen in a way that I have never. It has been patently unsafe for me, physically unsafe for me to trust other teachers, because I have almost always been injured by other classes, and I've never been, in fact, I've been healed. So that's the main difference.
Wow. And I remember in the beginning, you were struggling just to, and you were really like compassionate with yourself. Like the first video, maybe the first time didn't get through a whole thing, but that's okay. But you built that strength up over time. And I'm glad to hear that yoga's been so healing. And yeah, Gina, do you want to add anything?
It's funny. I think I texted you. I was in an airport, and
Yeah.
strangely, the airport had a yoga area. And it was so peaceful and calm. And I remember, I didn't tell you this, but I left, and I had like, I thought to myself, gosh, I would really like to have a yoga space like that, like to have that same calmness. And I heard your voice saying, well, what do you need to get that? Like, what are you lacking to make that happen? And so in my mind, I started like visualizing, oh, well, this is like kind of making a list for what I would like to do down the line. And it was just kind of neat, like having that introspection, like that dialogue, I think. And I think that is something that we constantly had during the program, was this dialogue. Like, what are you needing? What are you feeling? Like you said, if I were to go to the gym near my house and take a yoga class, they're not going to ask me, what are you needing today? How are you feeling? What questions do you have? What do you want to work on, or anything like that? They're just going to get up and do their normal routine, and you just follow along. And so it was very much geared to what we're needing pretty much on a daily basis.
Great.
And Jen's dog helps.
Yeah, she comes in a little bit, and your dog as well.
Yeah, he just came in. That's why I was like, oh, it's dogs
The
too.
the pets love the energy of, and Gina, your dogs too. Sometimes
Yeah,
I knew they were there. I couldn't
probably
see them, but they love the energy
He's
of
back
yoga.
here right now. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else, any of you out there? I'm going to scroll up and see if I missed any questions, but please, now's your time. We have just a few minutes left. I want to make sure that I got all your questions answered. Are there any other questions? And do you guys want to add anything at all? It hasn't been added.
But I decided to, what program did I should know, but I don't. What program did I join after our
You
30
joined the membership. You joined the membership afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel really good about that. Like it feels like the really right choice for me. It
And I'm
feels
thrilled.
like investing in myself. And I'm one of those people, that's not true. I was gonna say if I spend the money, I'll show up, but that's not true because I used to pay for I never went to. So that's not a true statement.
Okay, so I'm just reading the comments, seeing if there's any questions. They're saying helpful, thank you, Gina and Jen, very informative. So I just want to say thank you for being here, Gina and Jen. Really, it's like just love you guys and love that you're on this journey and so happy that you're getting the benefits in your life. And thank you for taking your time to speak to us at the end of the 4-day challenge. And I think that's it. I have nothing. Oh, thank you for your time, Carrie Moore. Carrie's joining the 90-day program. She's saying very informative, and I hope you have as much success with Jen. I hope I have as much success with Jen as you both have. Lydia says, thank you for both coming to us. So everybody's thanking you for being here. And with that, I will end our session. And for those who are either watching in replay, well, if you're watching this in replay, then you've probably watched all the others, but they'll be up till Saturday. I'll announce the winners of the prizes on Sunday. And reach out, send me a DM, set up a call if you want to ask any questions and find out if it's right for you. Thank you so much, you guys. Bye.